All right, let's dive right into today's explainer, where we're unpacking a deeply unsettling real-life paranormal thriller out of Mangalapara village in Jharkhand. Now, this one starts out with a deeply rooted local tradition, but it rapidly spirals into this complex, multi-layered mystery involving family, secret obsessions, and, at least according to the people who actually lived through it, full-blown possession. So let's break down exactly how this terrifying sequence of events unfolded. And that brings us to the core question we're looking at today. What happens when a sacred village ritual unlocks a tragic, supernatural secret? You see, every December, the village holds the Pushkali Mela. It's a festival dedicated to goddess Kali, and it includes a customary midnight goat sacrifice. But in 2024, for one specific family, this routine offering acted as a catalyst. It essentially ripped open a doorway to something deeply sinister that had been quietly brewing right next door.
To really get a sense of this, we need to look at the timeline, because the escalating horror is grounded in a terrifyingly specific window of time. At exactly midnight on December 26th, our 18-year-old protagonist Nirmal and his family perform the sacrifice. By 1 a.m., they lock up the temple and make a fateful decision. To save a little time, they take a dark, isolated route home, flanked by abandoned mines. And then, at 3:30 a.m., Nirmal wakes up to find that the horror has literally followed them right into their own courtyard.
Now, before the chaos truly kicks in, you'll want to keep a close eye on these four key players. We've got Nirmal, our 18-year-old witness to all of this, his older cousin, Krishna, who kind of acts as the voice of reason. Then there's Pawan, Nirmal's noticeably timid nephew, and Anchal, Nirmal's sister. Remember Pawan and Anchal because they are about to become the vessels for a terrifying local tragedy.
Okay, so the very first terrifying breadcrumb drops on that 1 a.m. walk home. The boys stop at an isolated hand pump for a quick drink, leaving the sack containing the sacrifice goat unattended for just a few moments. But when they come back, something is horribly wrong. The goat is protruding from the sack, and one of its legs has been violently torn completely off. And I don't mean a clean cut, it was torn. Terrified, they rush home, hide the sack by their courtyard well, and just try to get some sleep.
Well, that brings us right into Act 1, a sister's sinister secret.
Fast forward to 3:30 a.m. Nirmal wakes up and catches his sister Anchal tearing that goat carcass apart on a neighbor's doorstep and literally eating raw meat. Panicking, he runs to drag his grandmother to the courtyard, but when they get there, it's totally empty. The goat is back by the well, exactly where the boys had left it. So they rush over to Anchal's room and find her fast asleep in bed. But here is the massive psychological kicker. Nirmal sees her hands completely coated in fresh blood. His grandmother looks at the exact same hands and sees absolutely nothing. As the grandmother leaves, scolding him for waking her up, Anchal suddenly sits up, smiles this incredibly eerie smile, and in a voice that is absolutely not hers, warns him to stay quiet. But the crucial piece of the puzzle drops the very next night. The family is sitting around a fire, and Anchal starts acting really aggressive and erratic, snapping at her mom and Nirmal. Nirmal takes Anchal's phone to plug it into a charger, and when that screen lights up, his blood literally runs cold. Anchal's wallpaper has been changed to a photo of a 16-year-old girl named Farida. Farida lived in the very same Muslim neighbor's house that Anchal was staring at the night before. And get this, Farida had died suddenly just 5 days prior.
The haunting soon multiplies, plunging the family into Act 2, the nephew's dark transformation.
So it's nearing midnight, exactly 11:55 p.m., and Nirmal finds his timid nephew Pawan and Anchal having this hushed, intense argument by the courtyard well. Confused, Nirmal approaches them. Pawan turns to him, but the voice that comes out of his mouth is deep, aggressive, and totally unrecognizable. He snarls, "Get out of here. You have no business here. Leave us alone, or you'll be killed." Nirmal runs, only for Pawan to violently attack and choke him in his bed later that same night, before seemingly snapping right back to sleep like nothing happened. Which obviously raises the ultimate question. If Pawan was speaking, but it wasn't his voice, who in the world was it? The next evening, Nirmal and Krishna try to head out to a local football match, just to clear their heads. But Pawan abruptly leaves early to walk home alone in the dark. When Nirmal and Krishna follow him a bit later, taking that same isolated mine road, they find Pawan sitting by the hand pump in the pitch black. As they approach, Pawan turns around. His eyes are completely rolled back, showing only white. His face is smeared with blood, and he's frantically chewing on the raw goat leg that had gone missing 2 nights before. At this point, we are dealing with dueling identities that perfectly mirror each other. On one side, you have Anchal and Pawan,
Two innocent, completely normal family members who are terrified and going through bouts of agonizing physical pain. On the other side, you have the entities controlling them. These forces manifest with completely white or blood-red eyes, display shocking physical violence, and share a disturbing, insatiable craving for raw goat meat. This is the moment the family realizes they aren't dealing with a medical issue at all. It's a dual possession.
And with time running out, we reach the climax. Act 3, the temple confrontation. Desperate, the family secretly consults the local temple priest. Under the guise of going out to a restaurant, Nirmal borrows a car just to get Anchal and Pawan inside. After a completely chaotic, violent car ride, where Pawan literally tries to strangle Nirmal from the back seat while he's driving, the thrashing siblings are dragged into the Kali Mata temple. The priest immediately begins intense chanting. Pawan is frozen inside a drawn circle, while Anchal runs wildly before finally collapsing. When the priest demands to know who is inside her, the entity finally speaks. She says, "I am Farida, the 16-year-old neighbor who died days ago, the girl from the secret phone wallpaper."
And right here is where the entire horrific backstory of what really happened to Farida unravels. It's an incredibly tragic chain of events. Farida harbored a secret, one-sided love for Nirmal. But when she refused to marry an obsessively infatuated cousin of hers, he lured her to an isolated area and strangled her to death. The village had just assumed it was a sudden illness. But the tragedy didn't end there. Farida's vengeful spirit returned from the grave and took the life of her murderous cousin in retaliation.
So why target Anchal and Pawan? Well, the motives are chillingly specific. Farida's spirit claimed she had dropped a bracelet near Nirmal's house, which Anchal picked up and put on. Farida used that physical connection to possess Anchal, simply so she could finally be close to Nirmal, the boy she loved. The cousin spirit, on the other hand, was still obsessively stalking Farida even in death. When he realized Farida's spirit was inside Anchal, he possessed Pawan's body. He knew that inhabiting Nirmal's nephew was the only way to infiltrate that exact same household and stay close to his victim. It's essentially a supernatural hostage situation.
Faced with this unbelievably tangled web of murder and supernatural obsession, the priest intensified his rituals. By binding the spirits through powerful mantras and administering blessed water from a sacred bronze pot, the priest successfully forced both Farida and the cousin out of the physical realm. The entities were banished. Anchal and Pawan were finally cured, returning home with their family, completely free of the dark shadows that had hijacked their bodies.
Which leaves us with a final, really unsettling thought to ponder. We often think of death as an absolute end to human emotion. But as the accounts from Mangalapara village suggest, human passions, whether it's unrequited love or violent, controlling obsession, might just carry a kinetic energy strong enough to shatter that boundary entirely. So I'll leave you with this. How far beyond the grave can the madness of obsession truly reach?